Thank you. So by day, I'm working at Logical Trust, where I'm doing penetration testing and red teaming, and this is what I'm going to present today. But by night, I also spend some time on open source projects, helping them to be more secure. I'm not going to ask you if you know the NetBSD project, because it's always a sad moment to me. But let me ask you, have you ever played Quake before? Like the first version of Quake, Quake 1. Great, so we're going to play it again. Also, I play CTS in one of the best Czech teams in currently. We are now najlepší team na Morave. If you want to help us to keep that place, then just find us and tell that you want to play with us, because otherwise Czech cyber team is going to catch us by the end of the year. So we will greatly appreciate that. And as promised, I'm going to talk a little bit about red teaming. You might wonder what is the connection between this picture and red teaming. Actually, this is the only picture in public domain of red teaming I managed to find in the internet. But the story is that we were contracted by the company which told us that we can do anything we want, even kidnapping people, except like 3 people from board, because they need some legal representation, a few people from IT, because only them know how the production is working. But besides that there were no limits. As you can see, I'm not a kidnapper, so we decided to go with slightly different approach. Oops, not this one. So, good reconnaissance is a foundation of every successful red teaming. And when we did that, we found out that only 2 services are publicly available in the internet for everyone. And the first one was this service. Can you tell me what is the software that we have encountered, just to see if you are still with me? Yes, and it's open SSH. And the second question is, what is the probability of finding 0 day in OpenSSH to gain a shell? Like almost 0, right? So likely if we found something, I would not be here, right? Because either I'm going to be very rich or famous, so it wasn't OpenSSH. So the second service was Apache server with static HTML website. So what is the probability of finding a 0 day that will let you to gain a shell in Apache? Slightly, I would say that it's slightly bigger than in OpenSSH, but still 0, right? So at that point, I started to be a little bit nervous, and I signed up to gym, just to build muscles to kidnap people. But when I was at gym, I thought that maybe we overlooked something, and I started to browse the internet and looking for traces of the domain that was in the target, blah, blah, blah. And we found out some logs from IRC servers for younger people who are not aware what is IRC. IRC is basically a Slack, but for old people. So I am quite old. I don't use Arch, by the way, but we found out that on some Quake channel, one guy was inviting somebody to play on a server that was in the domain that was in the scope of our red teaming exercise. So I thought, let's give it a try. At the time, I was also a Quake player. I played almost daily, so I did it quickly. And we successfully connected to a Quake server. So, among all the services that we have found, like Apache, OpenSSH, Quake, and maybe kidnapping people, what do you think, what is the easiest way to gain a shell? likely it's going to be Quake, right? Like the game itself was released in 1996. And can you recognize this man? He's very famous programmer. Yes, he's a John Carmack. He's one of the biggest players in game programming. Right now he's retired from game programming, but he's still active in computer science. But he was a tough guy at the time, and you can say that because I'm not sure if you see the keyboard that he had. But when I showed this picture to my friend, he went crazy because he's a hardcore keyboard fan, and it's a IBM something model. And if you own this one, you're the guy. And you can also see that because the CRT monitor that he had at the time was huge, so he was somebody, right? But he also was computer wizard, but also computers were present in his life since almost since the beginning. Because when he was 14, he tried to steal Apple II computer from his school, and he ended up in juvenile detention center for a year. So he was ready to sacrifice a lot for computers. And there was also another team member in ID Software. Can you recognize this man? What is his name? No, it's not David Hasselhoff. However, could be, right? If we'll make a movie about life of this man, we can hire Hasselhoff. So, any other ideas? Sorry? Yeah, well, this is John Romero. That was responsible for game design, level design, etc. So he's also quite known in game world. And sorry, Final Doom icon. Maybe let's discuss it later. So both of them wanted to make after Doom. They thought that maybe it's time for a Dungeons and Dragons themed game, and they tried to do it, but because of some constraints, they were forced to release the game. And maybe it's time for me to shut up and just show you the game. It's not the Dungeons and Dragons game, thank God. So maybe I will show you a single player, because at the beginning, single player was the most important part of the game. Basically, it's the first really 3D game that was released. And how many of you prefer Duke Nukem 3D instead of Quake? Okay, so I need to memorize your faces because I hate Duke Nukem 3D. And 3D in Duke Nukem was a fake one because Duke Nukem 3D wasn't a real 3D game, right? Because monsters were not 3D models, it was just a sprite or something like this. So I will just quickly show you how the game looked like. It's going to be brutal, so if you're sensitive, please close your eyes. So it's, as I said, full 3D. There are some fun things, bad things. And when my son was observing how I prepared to this talk, I told him to not look at the screen because there is blood. And he was like, where? So, as you can see, the game was really brutal and was, it had bad press, right? Because it will cause the damage to young people, blah, blah, blah. And single player was so-so. It's fun to play, but not as fun as a multiplayer game. So let's get back to the presentation to show the other advantages that Quake had. Oh yes, and one important thing is that ID Software that released Quake, after a few years, when they think that game is irrelevant anymore, they release a source code on some liberal license. Like, for example, in this Quake was released under GPL license, and it let people to port it to many platforms. For some reason, somebody made a port to oscilloscope. We are not going to analyze it, but I think that recently Doom was ported to pregnancy test, right? I'm not sure. Fact check it, but I'm pretty sure it's true. So thanks to that the game was released open source, it is alive till today. And the version of Quake I showed you is Easy Quake, that is pretty standard Quake playing these days. But it's still played online in many countries, including Czechia. I'm aware that there are some players from Czechia here in the room. You can try to reveal them. But there are more trivia about the game. So the guy right here is John Carmack. Here is Anne Wang, and they were ID Software employees. And I'm not sure who is this creature, but the red eyes are haunting. But I wanted to ask about this guy. Yes, it's Trent Reznor, who is very famous person in industrial scene. I think that he's going to play with Nine Inch Nails a show in Czechia this year. I think so. At least he's going to Poland. I'm from Poland, so I'm proud of it, but likely he will try to make a show here too. Anyway, he wrote a soundtrack to Quake, and the deal was that ID Software couldn't advertise the game that Nine Inch Nails made a soundtrack to the game. It was just a audio CD because like CD with the game had two tracks. One was the data track and audio CD, and audio CD was done by Nine Inch Nails. It's a dark ambient album, and you shouldn't listen to that if you are alone at home because it's haunting. And also, what is nice that recently they released a vinyl version of it, and because there was vinyls had like 4 sides, and only 3 sides were allocated to the music. A 4th side was used to it contains the code of the game. But for some reason they make it uppercase so it won't compile, but it's cool anyway, right? So we decided to hack Quake, or try to, but we had some constraints, and one of the biggest constraint that we have is that we weren't looking for memory corruption bugs. This is a classic article that was released in Frag magazine. I'm pretty sure you know this one. It's Smashing Stack for Fun and Profit. And at the moment of release of Quake, Carmack was aware that memory corruptions are bad, but maybe he wasn't aware that they can lead to remote code execution. But anyway, exploiting memory corruption from the remote can be non-trivial task, and maybe we had just one shot to do it, because otherwise we can crash the server, and we weren't sure if it's going to auto start or not. So we decided to not reinvent the wheel and browse again. We searched the internet, and maybe I'll show you something important before I go further with the story. I prepared a local version of server. And modern Quake servers are based on 2 components. First is called MVDSV, which is a basic server. It's just a plain server that lets you play very basic types of game. But also there is a KTX that adds more functionalities to the server. So you can, instead of playing free for all, you can play like 2-on-2 or 1-on-1 on 4-on-4 or capture the flag, blah, blah, blah. So basically, if you are a modern Quake player, you want to play on a server that consists of those two components, KTX and MVDSV. So instead of trying to find a 0 day, we thought that maybe there are some known issues. And we decided to browse Quake forum. And we found that one guy from Brazil wrote something interesting, that there is some bug in a Quake that lets you to issue commands on the server shell, whatever it means. Because there were like the whole thread does not contain any useful information where the bug is or if it's true or not. But we decided to correlate a date of the post with commits, and we found out that there is something interesting there. Like one of the lines is commented, and what is important here, I will try to make it a little bit larger for you. Can you see it from the last row? Yeah, so it says that warning, full access to server console. It looks suspicious, so maybe it's something around there. So basically this line is executed if you are in something called aircon mode, and aircon stands for, I think, remote control or something like this. So basically you need to be a server administrator. So the question is how to become a server administrator. But before I show you the bug, I want to do a quick 101 crash course of Quake protocol. So if client connects to the server, it sends information, some basic information about the player. The name, color of pants, color of shirt, and some other variables. And those variables are prefixed with a star. For some reason they designed the protocol that way. So I started to reading the code, and maybe it's a little bit too big right now because I'm pretty sure you are not fluent in C, at least not after 8 hours of the conference. So let me briefly tell you what the code does here. So there is a command to change a current mode of the game. So you can change from a normal mode to an administrator mode. And unfortunately, when we look at the code, it turned out that indeed there is a bug. Because there is a bug here. Because it doesn't use, well, the bug is here. Because it doesn't use constant time checking. So we can get a 1 bit of information like how many bits of the password, bytes of the password are good or not. But it will require few billions probes. So maybe it's not the way to hack it, right? Because from cryptography point of view, it's a deadly mistake. But to be honest, in our red teaming, it wasn't an option. So I decided to read the whole code, and I found something interesting. That there was a small fraction of this function that let you to set the last mode you had before. Like if you, for example, was an administrator, and issue a command, give me a last mode, it will make you an administrator again. So there is a small logic bug that when you connect to this server, you can say that my last mode was administrator mode. So if you issue the command, you will become server administrator, and somebody thought that it can be an issue and wrote a sanity check for that. But over the years, it got commented for some reason. I don't know why. So let's try to exploit it and become a server administrator. So to do that, I had to patch Quake client, and this is a patch. So if we connect to a server, we just declare that we want to, like the last mode was 4, and 4 stands in Quake language to aircon mode. So let's try to execute it. So I'm connected to the server, and when I'm trying to issue a command which is issued by subcommand say, like for example say status, it just say status to all player on the server. But if I now try to use a trick that I just described, mmode last, now I see that last mode was aircon, so maybe I'm system administrator, not system Quake administrator, right? So if I issue now say status, it executed a status command that is meant for administrators. It doesn't make anything important here. But if we are, for example, administrator, we can do something like this and kick people from the server. So as a Quake player, it's a big deal for me, right? So what I did, I brought the issue to the company that hired us and told them, hey, you know, you got a big problem because there is a Quake server and we found a 0 day to become, or not 0 day, but we exploited a bug that led us to be a server administrator. So what you can do with it, they asked us, and like we can kick people, ban people, change maps. And they told me like, okay, we can handle it. What do you mean you can handle it, right? So they told me that we need something stronger. So what we did, we decided to read a whole code of Quake server, and we have encountered an interesting part in commands that were gluing some components with Unix systems. It was running on top of Linux, so this code was present on the server. And can you smell the bug from this line? What is the problem? Like, these parameters are taken from from administrator, basically. But we know how to become an administrator. So the question is, if you can spot any issue here. No buffer overflow, no memory corruption, no memory corruption. Yes, there is basically a shell injection, because this argument is passed to a system function that simply run it as almost as a shell script. So we can put here some characters like pipes, etc., and try to execute different commands. So if we know how to become administrator, we can try to exploit it. So let's try to do it. Let me connect to the server again. Okay, so first I need to become a server administrator. So I will use mmode last to become administrator, and we are in aircon mode. And now I'll try to spawn a shell. I assume that netcat, that is basic tool, is already present on the server, but there are many ways to plant a reverse shell or shell or whatever. There is just one of the ways, and it's good enough for our presentation purposes. But first of all, I would like to show you that I'm not lying. When I try to connect to port 9999, it says that connection is refused because nothing is listening there. So let's try to run netcat on a server to spawn a shell for us. So I need to execute a script command. Now I'll do, maybe not that long. And now I put pipe, so now we can try to use netcat. Okay, so it's a live demo, so I hope it's gonna work. Do you think it's going to work? Are you with me? Yeah, thank you. So let's try. Okay. Nothing had happened, but in the background, maybe it was like the shell was spawned. So let's try. And yeah, we are on the server. So we exploited Quake to make a remote shell. Great. But it's not the end of the story, because now we are sitting on 0-day bug, which is quite trivial, but still it's a 0-day bug. And the problem at the time when we found it is that it was almost abandonware. So everyone was using the code, but nobody was responsible for it anymore. Like there were many GitHub repositories that contained that code, and we didn't really know what to do. So we decided to choose the most start GitHub repository and contacted the owner and let him know that there is a bug. And he was like, it looks bad. So maybe let's try to fix it, but in a way that nobody knows there is a bug. Okay, like, it's fair enough, since nobody was responsible for it and we didn't want to make a Quake apocalypse, then okay, let's do it that way. So I wrote a patch, we committed it, it was merged, but the commit message was like, do not use system or something like that. So the commit message was a little bit obscure, and people started asking what's going on. And if you remember Brazilian guy, oops, too far, whoops. If you remember Brazilian guy, he found this thread and was really shocked that we are professionalizing KTX. So he knew. So the bug was fixed a long time ago, and because as I said, we didn't want to make a Quake apocalypse. That's why we kept this for years and didn't talk about it. And the end of the story of the red teaming was that we really got root access to the server, but it was just a virtual machine with nothing else. But the problem was that the administrator of the server took the VM image from a mother image that contained the same credential as the other machines, right? So we were able to reuse credentials and attack the rest of the infrastructure. And now if you are going to play Quake today or in the future, or you haven't finished a single player game, then close your eyes, because I'm going to show the last slide. It's the Quake ending. So if you end the game, it's all that was waiting for you. So I salute to you that you were with me during the journey. Thank you very, very much. And if you have any questions, I'm ready to answer, but I'll also be around. So thank you. Do you have any questions or remarks? Yeah, there is a question. Oops. Turn on the microphone? Yeah, thank you. So it looks complicated, but to be honest, it took us like 2 days, because, the code from ID Software was pretty robust code, but the problem with the the repositories I showed is that a lot of people started to commit random code to it. So it wasn't consistent, and there was a lot of really basic mistakes. But the one I showed you was just the easiest to exploit, but there were many more. So it was rather easy. It looks complicated, but it took us like 2 days. Any other questions here? You can wait for the microphone, because...
Just wondering, I think you mentioned it, but when did you patch this out?
Oh, it was patched like many years ago, like almost 10 or something like this. Yeah, so it's an old story, yeah.
Good, thanks.
But now what has changed is that not now Quake server is maintained by some kind of a group. So all the repositories finally merged, and there is a group that is responsible to develop it. So that's nice. Any other questions? Oh, there is a question. Oh, at the last row.
Yeah, thanks for the talk. Just a quick question. I have a T-shirt at home that has Duke Nukem on it. I'm just wondering if you want it.
Yeah, we can burn it tomorrow, so bring it in. Yeah. Okay, no more questions. I'll be around, so thank you very much.